watch part one, go back and watch it. I'll link it right up here. Whatever side it comes up on. That side, I think. I'll go ahead and link it right there so you can watch part one of season 3. I also did a recap and review of seasons 1 and 2. So if you want to watch those, I'll also link them right up here. I actually filmed this video last night and I was having some issues with my mic, so I had to delete the whole video, and so now I'm starting over and I'm doing it in the daytime on my mini mic so we don't have any issues. So it's a little lo-fi video for you this time, but I'm still going to do a little gum chewing and we're just going to chat about the show. So let me go ahead and get my gum. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to support the channel. 2 pieces. And I've got my notebook here. My notes. I don't even know if you can hear the tapping sounds on this mic. But let's go ahead and jump in. So, where we left off was episode 5, and they had just found out that they're about to be reviewed in the Chicago Tribune, and nobody can remember what dish they made. So, we're on to episode 6. One complaint that I have about this show is that they're so unclear sometimes. So there were 2 instances in this episode and another episode that's coming up where I was so confused. Or, okay, I won't say I was so confused, but I was a little bit confused. Like, I wasn't really sure what was going on. Or like, okay, so this episode is a flashback episode, and it's basically just like Tina's origin story, basically. So where Tina came from, how she ended up working at the Bear, and things like that. Or, I'm sorry, at the Beef. But in the beginning, I was like, wait, Tina has another job, like, what's going on? Because they showed her in, like, this corporate office, like, HR type job, and I was like, how does she have time for this? I'm confused. But turns out it was a flashback. So she's working at this job, and she's been there for, I think it was like 15 years, and she gets laid off. Terrible, right? So now she's on the job hunt, mind you. Before she gets laid off, she and her husband had been having a conversation about how the landlord had just raised their rent, so she was really concerned about money. And her husband was supposed to be getting a promotion, but you know, it's been a long time coming and it hasn't been happening, so she's not feeling very hopeful. And she's just concerned overall. And then she goes to work that same day, and now she lost her job. So she's like, it's crunch time to go find another job. But she's having a really hard time. Because like the job market is different now, so even though she's applying to jobs that are pretty much exactly the same as what she worked before, she's not qualified because she doesn't have a degree, and they're just really hiring like a younger demographic at this point. So she's really struggling to find a job. She goes into one interview and they're like, yeah, you've got a great resume, so like, you know, where's your degree from? And she was like, degree like school. And they're like, yeah, like you need a bachelor's degree to qualify for this job. They're like really big on that. Tina's like, yeah, I don't have that, but I have like, it's the exact same job. Like, I have all the experience. I was there for 15 years. And they're like, yeah, maybe you should go to night school. First of all, don't tell me what to do. And second of all, you don't know her life. What if she can't afford that? What if she doesn't have the time for that? She needs a job. She doesn't need to go to school. It's very unfair. I said the job hunt struggle is so real. And it is. So, at this point, she's gotten a million interviews, and she has an interview in this big, like, company, and she's feeling so confident about it. She's like, I'm gonna get this one. And she gets there. And the front desk guy, first of all, front desk guy doesn't even look her in the face. He's like on his computer while he's talking to her. She's like, I'm here for the open house. And he's like, oh yeah, the position is filled. And she's like, but you guys just like emailed me yesterday. And he was like, yeah, well, they filled the position today. And she's like, well, you guys should take the post down then. And he was like, I'll let them know. Like, first of all, rude. And then she gave him a piece of her mind. She was like, F you and F your bosses. Basically, pretty much, right? So I'm glad she got that off her chest, even though that kid does not care one way or another. Like, he has a job, and that's all he cares about, right? But anyway, so she leaves, and she goes to catch her train, and the train is delayed. So she goes, she sees the beef across the street, and it's like hustle and bustle, and she walks inside while she waits for her train. And of course, everybody's yelling, and it's chaos, and they're screaming, and they're like, if you don't come pick up your order, I'm gonna give it away, type thing. So, hot mess as usual, right? And, so Richie takes her order, and she just orders a coffee, and he's like, you know what, your coffee's on me, go ahead, take it. And then she stands around for a little bit, and they're calling someone's name, and the person's not coming to pick up their orders, so they're like, you know what, we're gonna give it away. So they give it to her. Richie's like, here, take it, it's on us. Oh, she goes to the little dining area, she sits down to eat, and Mikey and Fac are back there, and they're playing video games. And so she sits down, she's the only one back there, really, and she starts crying. And then Reggie comes in. Mike's like, dude, like, why is this lady crying over here? And Reggie's like, I don't know what her problem is. I gave her a free sandwich. So they're like, this is bad for business. You gotta tell her she's gotta go. Or stop crying or something like that. I mean, mind you, bad for business. Like, nobody's in there. Everybody's in the other room. But anyway, so eventually Mikey goes to talk to her. He sits down. He strikes up a conversation. And they're like, basically bonding over all their traumas, like, you know, what was bad about your day today? And he went first, and he said all the crappy things that he's going through, and then she said all the crappy things that she's going through, and she mentioned how she needed a job or whatever. They have this whole heartfelt conversation, and they really bond and stuff. So then, Mikey offers her the job, and he's like, I know this is not like ideal, like this place is really not the best place to work, like this is not, it's not fun, but it is fun at the same time. Like, basically he's saying like his heart is in it, but it's a terrible place to work. It's like not a good job, and the pay is trash, right? So he's like, you know, but the job is so if it's yours if you want it, and she takes it, and that's how Tina became part of the team. Which now I understand, like her in the beginning being so protective over everything. Also, honorable mention to Mikey showing pictures of Carm's food. I thought that was so sweet, because he was so proud of his brother, and he was like, you know, like, my brother's just better than this place. And you know, when someone just knows that they're meant to do something, and then they go out and they do it, and it was just really beautiful. I love that. Yeah, so that was basically the episode. Now we're gonna move on to episode 7, where Shapiro worked at one of the restaurants. I don't know which one, but this is the same guy that walked up to Sid in the middle of the street and was like, congratulations on your success at the Bear, and like, Karma's doing really well, and the food is amazing, and da-da-da. This was like either at the end of season 2 or in the beginning of season 3, I don't remember when. So he says he wants to talk to her about something. He hits her up, right? And I already have a bad feeling. I'm like, what are you about to say? Something's going on, right? And then cut to a scene of Carm at like an AA meeting, and I wrote this down because I like identified with this so deeply. A woman was like basically making a speech about how difficult it is to apologize, and like the longer you hold on to an apology, the deeper it goes into your body until you can feel it in your chest, you can feel it in your ribs, and the harder you feel it, the more difficult it becomes to let it out. And I was like, damn, that's such a good way of putting it, and it's so true. And reading this back makes me empathize a little bit more with Carm in future episodes, but we'll talk about that when we get there. So now, Sydney meets with Shapiro. Shapiro wants to open a restaurant and he wants Sid to be the head chef. You guys, why would he offer her that knowing that she just started this business with Carm and she's like, you know, his sous chef or whatever? Like, why would you put that on her plate? But like, I understand it's amazing. It's like an amazing opportunity for her. And of course, I want the best for Sid. I want her to do what's best for her, but I also don't want her to leave. I don't want her to leave the bear. So I'm having mixed feelings. So then after she gets this offer from Shapiro, she goes into the bear, and Carm and Marcus are having this conversation about like their legacy and what they want to leave behind in life. And Carm is just talking about how he just wants to be square with everyone, and he wants to make sure that everyone's good and that he's on good terms with the people that he loves. And he just makes it so difficult to be mad at him. Like, it's so annoying. Like, you're annoying, bro. You have so much to work on in your life. And, like, if Karm was someone in my life, I would have to distance myself from him because he is far too much for me. But then, moments like this make me, like, feel bad that I feel that way. So, I can understand, like, I feel for Sid because it's such a hard place to be in. Like, you wanna support this person and their growth and, you know, watch them better themselves, but at the same time, you have to do what's better for you, which might mean that you need to move on without this person, right? And then Marcus is such a wholesome guy. I love Marcus and still rooting for him and Sydney to get together. But he's basically just saying that he just wants to be his best self. And, yeah, he's just trying to be his best self and, like, learn and grow and just be fruitful. And I love that for him. So then we see Ibra at the sandwich station, and they bring back some of the old workers from the beef to help him out on the sandwich station. And I just love seeing him in his element. Like, I feel like he's really thriving right there, and I just love that for him. I love Ibra. Richie's talking to Nat, and they're talking about the soul of the restaurant, and he just feels like the dining room is not what it needs to be. And honestly, I feel like Carm has a lot to do with that. Like, he's just bringing this energy that is so heavy to the restaurant because he's trying so hard to be like this 5-star, like Michelin star, whatever that gets called, type restaurant. And like, please relax, you know, like, whatever. I said this in my last video, but like, y'all have a lot more growing to do, and you don't have to get a star in your first year. Like, I know that would be ideal, but I feel like the path to getting that star in your first year cannot be so hard on everyone. And then I wrote, I just know that Nat is going to go into labor in the restaurant, but then she didn't end up going into labor in the restaurant. She actually went into labor while she was going to buy seafood towels at the store, which is arguably worse. If you don't know what a seafood towel is, it's like those little brown paper towels that they put in the hand dispensers in like restaurants and bars and stuff. And I used to work in a hair salon, and we use seafood towels in our bathrooms, and I had PTSD when she said seafold towels. I was like, no more seafolds. But anyway, yeah, she went to get the seafold towels, and then she went into labor. But before she went into labor, Sydney's in the boxes again. She's drowning in the boxes. Richie's vibes are off. Carm is like setting up the menu for the next day, and Sydney comes and tries to give her input, and Carm's like, no, we're gonna do this instead. No, I think this is working better. And like, at this point, you're just setting her up to leave you, bro. And like, he doesn't even and she's scared to tell her about this, to tell Carm about this opportunity, because she doesn't want to upset him, or she doesn't know how he's gonna react, or whatever the case is. And that's sad. Like, you should be able to talk to your business partner. And what else is sad is that her dad warned her about this before. So, but yeah, then Nat goes into labor, and then the next episode 8, is basically, the beginning was stressing me out because she's like, her water just broke and now she's sitting in a car in traffic and nobody's picking up the phone. Literally nobody. She called literally everybody. She even called Claire. And then her final last resort was to call Mom. We all know how I feel about Mom based on my last recap and review. So I was like, girl, why would you even do this to yourself? So then they get to the hospital, and Mom's already being annoying, and they're not even inside the hospital yet. They're still in the parking lot, and she's like, and like, I get it. She's trying to help, but like, can you just calm down? Your energy is not helping anyone. This like uppity energy that you have right now, it's not helpful. And that's what Nat is trying to tell her. She's like, I want my baby to come into like a calm environment, and what you're bringing right now is not calm. And then Mom's like laughing at Nat's birth plan because she wants it to be peaceful and she doesn't want drugs, and like she wants like calming music to be playing. And Mom's like laughing at her while she's saying this to the nurse, like, you're being rude. It's a privilege that you're even here and witnessing this. Like, just shut up. I can't mess with Mom. Mom and I are not friends. Also, she said that she had reached out to Pete, the dad, and I didn't believe her. I was like, I don't trust her. But then they end up having a really nice bonding moment about like everybody's, like, how everybody was born so calm and Mikey, and then whatever. So they're bonding, and then I wrote it again. I'm like, I just know Mom didn't call Pete. I really was not trusting her. So they have this moment where Nat is basically, so Mom asks Nat why she didn't tell her that she was pregnant. And Nat is basically saying, like, it's not that she doesn't want her mom around, it's just that she doesn't want everything that she brings with her, all the stuff that she brings with her, is what she said. And she doesn't want her daughter to be scared the way that she was growing up. And I feel that. Like, it's everything, especially nowadays, is about breaking this like generational trauma, and I'm all for it. I'm all about it. Break the molds, you guys. But yeah, so Mom like kind of feels bad about it, and she's like, I didn't know that you were scared, which, like, how could you not know? But whatever. And she says that she's been trying to put her stuff away, so I guess we have to appreciate that and respect it, but I'll believe it when I see it. Okay, and then Pete shows up, so I have to apologize to Mom. I'm sorry that I didn't trust you. And then she goes off to the waiting room. She goes and sits with the facts, and the baby is born. Now we're on episode 9, and the synopsis of this episode literally is Carmi thinks about apologizing. Why does he have to think so hard about it? Like, it doesn't need to be that difficult. But this is what I was talking about that woman's speech a couple of episodes ago that made me kind of empathize with Carm in this situation. Like, yes, it is very difficult to apologize, but you're a grown man. You need to suck it up. Also, this is also the other episode where I was kind of confused because I didn't realize until the end of the episode who he was like having a hard time apologizing to. But I should have known that it was Claire, but they didn't say her name, so I wasn't sure. So he's like having a hard time getting up the guts to apologize to Claire, right? Also at this point, I'm mentally preparing myself for Sid to quit the pair. Not sure if that's gonna happen, but I'm mentally preparing myself. I said Carm sucks as a boss. Yeah, because he was like in the kitchen, like screaming at everybody, cursing at them, and like, so we all know that Carm had this boss back in the day, right? When he was in New York, who was like, look at the mark from the microphone in my thumb. Anyway, he has this boss who was like really super hard on him and like made him feel like dirt, and like apparently gave him ulcers and like contributed to his mental illness, and like was just like a all around just bad vibe for him. And then he had this other boss who was the woman who owned Evers, and she was just so kind and so gentle. And I feel like Carm leans more towards the tyrannical boss than he does towards the gentle one. And I just don't understand that, because you see how it affected you and still affects you to this day. And then you're gonna go ahead and treat your own employees like that too. And granted, he's like nowhere near as bad as that original dude was, but still, you're still doing it. You know what I'm saying? So we just gotta think about that. You know, we gotta reflect on ourselves. So, but I understand he has anxiety. He's like thinking of all the terrible reviews that could possibly come from this Tribune, Tribune review or whatever. Richie's upset because they missed a customer's birthday, which honestly is kind of a big deal, because they had to give him a free dessert because they forgot their birthday, which is like, you know, if you're going to a restaurant for your birthday, you don't want the restaurant to forget that it's your birthday. Like, that's kind of, you know, so I get it. And again, I'm just having a really hard time being upset with Carm, or like staying upset with Carm, because so now Sid goes up to him, and she like attempts to tell him about her opportunity, but she chickens out. And I forgot what her wording was, but she basically said that he's hard to read. Excuse me. Basically saying that he's hard to read, and so she changes the subject or whatever, and then he's like, "Oh, tomorrow we're closed. We're going to the funeral for Evers. Evers is the restaurant. It's not a person. I thought somebody died, but it's just the restaurant. Evers is the restaurant that was owned by the woman chef that trained him. Whose name I constantly forget. Is it Allison? Why do I feel like it's Allison? I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But anyway, so they're gonna be closed tomorrow. He's like, you should come to the funeral. And she's like, no, like, it's not my place. And he's like, no, like, you should come. This is the last time they're ever gonna have a chance to eat at Evers. You should be there. And this is why, like, oh, and then after that, he was like, also, like, I don't want to be hard to read. Like, I don't want you to feel like I'm hard to work with. And she was like, okay. And then he didn't say anything else. She was just like, okay, good talk. And then she left. Like, I just have a hard time. Like, I feel bad for him. Like, I know that he's trying, but he just doesn't know how to communicate. But then, like, you need to get more help. You need to work harder on yourself. Do you know what I'm saying? But, I mean, baby steps, I guess. So, that's why I'm saying, like, I have very mixed feelings about Carm. Like, I really want to be, like, annoyed with him all the time. But then he has these moments where I'm like, okay, he's trying. I'm also just, like, a very sympathetic person, and I forgive and forget, you know, so that's just the type of person I am. Other people are not quite as forgiving as I am. I said he needs a lot of work, and Sid is over it. So then he goes into the walk-in, which I guess is like his safe haven now, and he's just like sitting there with his phone in his hand, hovering his finger over the call button to call Claire. And I'm like, bro, just call her. Like, what is the big deal? Even if you don't call her and say you're sorry, at least call her and like gauge the vibe, like see what's up. Like, is she even open to still talking to you? You don't even know. Like, you don't know what's gonna happen. Okay, and then cut to the Sid is in her house and she's on her laptop, and there's like this big story about the bear, and it's just Carm. Everybody's talking about Carm and how he's such a great chef, and like, you know, best chef in Chicago and all this stuff, and there's absolutely no mention of Sydney. So again, understanding why she would want to take this better opportunity. 100%. Honestly, at this point, I'm leaning more towards the better opportunity for her. And then cut to Cicero. Cicero is always the bearer of bad news. So at this point, even though I kind of like him, I don't like to see his face. So he comes and he's talking to Carm, and He's basically saying, like, if this review comes back negative, like, if it's a bad review, the restaurant's not going to survive and he's going to have to pull out. Like, his money's not going to survive it, kind of thing. And then he's also saying, like, that he wishes he did more for his mom, for Carm's mom, like, back in the day. Like, he really loves that family and he wants to do everything he can to support them. And I just, like, it's really sweet. And I feel bad. I feel bad. He wishes that he could help more, but his money is running dry. And then Carm, like, expresses how much he blames himself for everything that happened after he left because he feels like he shouldn't have left. And I just want to say, as a child growing up in a dysfunctional family, once you become an adult, you should not have to feel bad for, I don't want to say leaving your family behind, but for moving on with your life and doing what's best for you. You shouldn't have to feel bad for that. The weight of your family should not be on your shoulders. You need to move on and live your life for you, because at the end of the day, your family's not always going to be there, but you will be, right? So you gotta build your life for you. So I understand him kind of blaming himself and feeling like he should have been there, but also, like Cicero said, you can't blame yourself for that stuff, and nobody blames you for leaving. He did the right thing, and he bettered himself, and look, now he gets to come back and better the restaurant. Although, we don't really know how that's going just yet, but at least he tried. Okay, then Cicero gets back in the car and he's talking to Computer, who also the bearer of bad news. I don't want to see his face anymore either. And Cicero's like, "Did you tell him?" And Cicero Computer's like, "Did you tell him?" And Cicero's like, "Kinda, not really, but a little bit." And so it turns out that Cicero's out of money, like, right now, and he needs to pull out, like, right now. Like, sorry, this project didn't work, but it's a wrap. Is basically what Computer was saying, and that sucks. That really sucks. So I was really hoping for a good review for them, because obviously I don't want to see what's going on here. I don't want to see the restaurant close. I want to see them succeed. And then cut to Richie's at the park with his kid and his baby mom, and the baby mom is like pressuring him to go to her wedding, which that made me uncomfortable. Like, you know that you're the love of his life. You know that he doesn't want you to marry this man, even though this is like the nicest guy on earth. We love Frank. But like, this is really hard for Richie. And then she's like putting him in a position to make it, like, to guilt him into going to the wedding, because she's like, "You're the only person I've got. You're my only family. Like, I need you there. Your daughter needs you there," kind of thing. If he doesn't want to go, he doesn't have to go. Don't make that man uncomfortable. Let him be. Let him make his decision on his own. Oh, and then he's like, "It's all good, baby, baby." You know it's not good, Richie. Stop lying. I said Marcus is the real artist. He's just always trying to perfect his craft. Y'all can tell that I really like Marcus, right? They should just make a spin-off of just Marcus. Oh my god, and then the facts are sitting in the parking lot of the hospital preparing to go talk to Claire for Carm. Like, that's gonna end well, right? So basically they go in there. Excuse me. They go in there and are basically, I don't like it's just a scene that you have to watch because they're just so funny. The whole thing is like, it's a very hilarious exchange, but they're trying to be serious, which is what makes it even funnier. But basically they're just telling her, like, Carm loves you. He wants to apologize, but he can't. And like, whole time Claire's like, "Bro, this is my job. Like, I can't have this conversation here. I love you guys, but you have to get out. Like, thank you for the sentiment. Appreciate it, but you gotta go." And then we're on to the final episode, which, like, not much happens in this episode, it's basically just the funeral for Evers, and everybody's talking about like their experiences, like learning as chefs and being in that kind of environment. And I think Sid is now starting to kind of see where Carm gets his crazy from and why he's so neurotic, right? And then guess who's there? That a-hole boss that gave Carm ulcers. He's there and he's sitting at another table, and Carm is staring him down. And then the eyebrow kid, I forgot his name, eyebrow kid is sitting next to so Sid is sitting in between the eyebrow kid and Carm. And the eyebrow kid is like, dude, like, what are you staring at right now? Like, and then Sid looks at him, he's like, no, she's like, no, you've been staring for a long time, like, what's going on? And then he goes into this whole rant about the dude and how what a terrible person he is. And the eyebrow kid like co-signs it, and then the dude gets up to go to the bathroom, and Carm's like, oh, he's getting up, so he goes and he follows him. And he's like, I've thought a lot about what I'm gonna say to you when I see you again. And the dude's like, okay, have at it, go on. And like, I just hate this guy. He's so smug, and he's like, he's such a tool. So basically, Carm tells him like, first of all, he's like, F you, and then he's like, do you know what you did to me? Do you know what you did to my mental health? Like, you gave me ulcers, all kinds of stuff. And the guy's like, you need to unclutch your pearls. You should be thanking me. Me clutching my pearls. Like, excuse me. He has no, like, remorse. What did I write? He has, like, the biggest lack of accountability. Like, how can you say that to somebody? You should be thanking me for giving you anxiety for the rest of your life. Yeah, and then Carm's like, I think about you way too often. And then the dude's like, I don't think about you at all. I'm gonna go pee now. Like, dang, that was harsh. But Carm probably should have just minded his business and stayed at his table. That's what I think. And then there's an after party at Sid's. It's pretty lit. I wish I was there, but Carm's not there. Oh, before that, Carm goes outside after his confrontation with the ex-boss, and the lady owner of Evers comes out and talks to him, and he's like, what advice would you give yourself? You know, if you could go back and talk to yourself when you were in my shoes, what advice would you give to yourself? And she basically was like, you're invincible because you have no idea what you're doing. Like, what does that even mean? That's not helpful. I didn't find that to be helpful at all. But anyway, so then there's this after party. Carm's not at the after party. And Sydney goes to her fridge, and there's a newspaper clipping on the refrigerator door, and it's the review for The Bear, and it's titled "The Beef Evolves with the City." So I'm thinking this is gonna be a good review, right? But she like freaks out, and she goes outside, and she's crying, she's panicking, and I think just like based on the scene, it seems like she just sees all these people that she's grown to know and love and work with, and now she has to make this decision on whether or not she wants to leave. And now this review is out, and it's just so many like mixed emotions, and I really feel for her. So she goes out, she's crying, she's sobbing, she's freaking out. And then they cut to Carm. Carm is walking down the street, and he gets a bunch of texts from Cicero. And he opens them, and it's the review. And then they don't show the full review, but they show like flashes of like the words. And it doesn't look good. It looks like a very mixed review, and I'm really, really nervous about it. But of course, they hit us with the "to be continued." So now we gotta wait till next season to find out what the review says. Like, are you serious? The suspense is killing me. Disappointed. So, I'm a little disappointed in the ending, but that's just because I'm impatient, and this is why I binge watch shows. But, yeah. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed my recap. Let me know in the comments if you're still here. Leave me a bear emoji in the comments, and let me know which show I should review next. I'm thinking about watching Your Honor because a lot of people have been talking about it, but I also need to review I also need to watch this newer season of The Boys on Amazon Prime. But I don't think the full season is out yet, so I won't review it. So I'm thinking of doing Your Honor first, and then I'll do The Boys after. But let me know what you guys want me to watch. Even if I've watched it already, I might watch it again. So just throw them all at me. Let me know. Thank you so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to support the channel, and I will see you. I will see you in my next. Bye-bye.